welcome to Muse and to Music in Words. And it's a great pleasure to have two amazing artists with us. I'm sure you're all going to the concert at 3 o'clock. So please join me once again in welcoming the violinist, Daishin Kashimoto, and also the pianist, Alessio Bax. Thank you so much for being here. I know you have to perform in about an hour or so it's great that you can do this. And welcome to Hong Kong. I know you've been here many times before, but welcome to Hong Kong. You, first time, right?
No, not first time.
No?
Oh, a couple times.
Oh, really?
Yes,
fantastic. Yes. Oh, okay. That I did not know. But anyway, welcome. Very warm welcome. So maybe we can begin with a question about how you met each other. Because, when you're playing in a duo, it's almost like being married, actually, in a funny way, isn't it? And so I'd like to know, how did you, get together? What's the story here? And what do you actually see in each other that you want to actually make music?
We actually been playing together probably like 10 years, like that. And we first met in a music festival, a chamber music festival of a friend of ours in Cyprus, a beautiful island, as you know. And we played, what did we play? Beethoven Trio, yeah. I think the first thing we did. And there was a very simple, quick connection. And sometimes with people, with relationships, it either clicks or it doesn't. And,
Right.
And at the beginning. Of course, once it clicks, then you have to work on it. But that first click was definitely there. And we've been friends since. Not just on stage, also off stage. So it's always a pleasure to me playing and performing.
Yeah. So, Alessio, what do you see in Daishin that you want to play music with him?
I think you'll hear that today. It's amazing. I mean, he's an incredible violinist, of course, and this glorious sound. But there was something in the music making that felt so natural and so organic, yet very, I don't want to say predictable and fresh and unpredictable in the best of ways, always coming from the score, from the music. Well, so when we first played together, I almost have no need to look at him at all. We just kind of go with the flow and change the flow mutually. It's quite special. Also, there's a depth of musical understanding, which is very rare, I find, and in any style.
So never any arguments or disagreements, fundamental disagreements about how to play something?
No, even we don't even disagree about where to go for lunch. I think, the choice of airlines, not even. I think it's
the most important things: food, drink.
No, it's very important
in that order too.
Yes, it is important because you have to travel together, right?
Exactly, yeah. And at the end, we want to play well for one another, and it's important to try to do that with someone you like and you get along with. It will be a very sad life. I'm sure there would be possible to have a satisfactory music relationship with someone you're not really friends with, and we've all had that, but it will be a much sadder life, touring.
No, it's great because often, people are put together by, record companies or agents, right? But this is a kind of friendship relationship, which is great. Yeah. So, Alessio, say just nice things about you. Do you have anything nice to say about Alessio?
Well, he already said pretty much everything, I also think. But it's really true about this communication being so easy, especially when you're playing, such pure music with just the two of you. It's so important to be on the same page and the direction we move the music, and to be able to do that without really even exchanging words during rehearsals. We play once through. Of course, there are things that won't match 100%, but then already the second time we play, it's already much, much closer. And then without even really having to explain much, which makes life easier, of course, but it's just so much fun and so inspiring.
Yeah, they're not talking in rehearsal. That's not always the case.
No, it's usually not the case.
Usually, you play a phrase and then you stop. You have to try to find a common ground and say, "Oh, what about this? I'd like to move it this way." And this happens maybe in a piece, maybe 5 times at the most between us, where we feel the need to use words. So that first of all, saves a lot of time. And then, then we can go to dinner earlier. No, but it was for this, because you're curious, because Daishin lives in Berlin, I live in New York. We still managed to play some summer festivals together. And then he has a wonderful festival in Japan in October. And then every couple of years we have a tour together. But the hardest thing is to find the rehearsal time.
Yes.
So for this tour, we were playing a few concerts in Taiwan before we came. I was in Europe for doing other things, and we met in London for 2 days, where we got together back in March, right? And rehearsed. And then we played some of these pieces, two of these pieces for the first time.
Right.
And they're quite difficult. Prokofiev is not a piece that...
Yeah, you've chosen quite a hard program, yes.
So even then, we didn't have to say much. So that's quite rare.
So soulmates, musical soulmates, as it were,
exactly.
Which is nice, which is very, very nice. So both of you actually are soloists in your own right. You really have a career doing concertos, you win competitions and all that. So, it's interesting that you keep this chamber music alive, in your professional lives, right? And you do a lot of it. And I'm just curious why you do that, and what's the benefit for you in doing that, and how does it benefit a musician? Because in Hong Kong, we tend to be home alone in our music making. We sort of, in our little flat, and we're practicing, and then there's, alone on stage as well. And chamber music is not something that we listen to, but not often practice ourselves. So I'm just wondering, what is the benefit of doing this? Why do you keep doing this?
Well, first of all, chamber music is pretty much one of the first compositions that a composer writes, maybe after a piano sonata or something. Opus 1, Opus 2 will be piano trio or some sonata. So that's always the beginning of of music making, I think, and especially for string instruments or wood instruments, where you only have one voice. It's so important to be able to make music together, to make harmony with others. And of course, being able to do that on the highest level is just so satisfying, so much fun. And that's why for me it was always important, incredibly important. And you learn so much from all these wonderful musicians you play with, even with musicians who you don't maybe even like, maybe you don't maybe not agree to everything, but sometimes it gives you so much, in something you can take home with. And I remember when I was a student, we would have these crazy nights of just, from the library, we would just take tons of music and just sight read everything, just from trio to quintet to octets. And we'd all bring food and wine and go crazy. But it's such a treasure. Still today, I still feed off of this experience like that.
That's a great idea. I'm going to do that in the music department. We're going to have food and lots of chamber music and wine. Okay. Do you want to add anything, Alessio, to that?
Yeah, I think chamber music, first of all, I don't think there's much difference. For a pianist, it's a bit different in the sense that most of the time you are by yourself on stage. A violinist, most of the time, is with a pianist. So chamber music is the big part of what you guys do. But it's really the essence of music making. And then even playing a big romantic concerto, it's still chamber music in a more difficult and a larger scale. And even piano solo, there's chamber music, because we never play only one line, there's more. So we have to figure out how to make them coexist. So to have that experience in chamber music and realize how the single voices are independently important, yet they have to form a whole. It's something that, as a pianist, even if I'm playing solo, I have to continuously think about, and it's not a natural thing for a piano. So, I think right now, in this stage of my life, my biggest teachers are my chamber music collaborator.
Oh, that's a wonderful comment.
No, I learned the most from especially from other instruments,
Right, absolutely. I'm sure the audience would love to know a bit about your lives as well, because, of course, Daishin, you were a prodigy, really. You left Japan at the age of 7 to go to Juilliard.
We actually left at the age of 5.
Because
my father worked there in New York.
Right.
So we all moved as a family. I entered pre-college Juilliard when I was, I think, about 7. Yeah. Well, it doesn't hurt to start early, I guess.
In Asia, we kind of start very early.
I know. I remember I was there with, I was at the same time with Sarah Chang. And I remember I was there when I entered when I was 7. And everyone was like, whoa, this guy is incredible. He's 7, he's already in Juilliard. Half year later, Sarah's there with 6. And he's like, when did you start playing the violin? I started when I was 3. He's like, wow, so early. He's like, Sarah started at 2. So, it doesn't hurt to start early. But it's what you do out of it, of course.
Yes.
Like everything in life.
But you're the ultimate, overachiever, really, because not only did you go, to Juilliard or whatever at 7, and then you have a solo career and a chamber music, but you also, concertmaster of the Berlin Phil. So what's next? I mean, you're going to...
Well, unlike Alessio, I don't teach, so maybe I'll have to teach one day.
I have to teach or conduct. But how did you get that gig? I mean, what is it that what happened basically in your life that led to all this? Yes.
Well, it probably all starts, as we said, or we said, from chamber music. So I had no intention whatsoever to go into orchestra because I had no clue about orchestra. Of course, there's a dream as a violinist to be able to one day, touch a Mahler symphony, a Bruckner symphony, Beethoven symphonies. Of course, you dream of it, but then it wasn't really realistic back then for me. And and then I met a former concertmaster of the Berlin Philharmonic, a good friend of mine, Guy Braunstein, in several festivals we were together, and his as well. And we know each other very long, actually, already. So he started to convince me, or tried to convince me to come and audition for the job. And so that's how it all happened. But it's all through chamber music and connections. And then I was close with Emmanuel Payou already back then also, and flutist. And he also really tried to convince me to come. And nice.
Oh, amazing. And of course, Alessio, when you were 7, you hadn't started the piano yet. Is that right?
Exactly, yeah.
But having said that, Alessio, I mean, you were the youngest person to graduate from the Bari Conservatory
in Italy?
Yeah, in Italy at the age of 14. So it only took you 7 years to get from the beginning to, as it were.
Well, I got in when I was 9. So
okay.
It took me 5 years.
5 years.
But,
okay. How did you do that?
No, it was interesting because I had a very good teacher, I have to say, and there's a good tradition, especially in southern Italy, of piano playing. And my parents were not musicians, but they spent all their holiday times bringing me to master classes of great pianists. Or I would go every time there was a concert. Back then, there were many good people that came through my hometown, so we were always there. And they realized there was something better outside this very nice conservatory. So they thought, let's try to finish it earlier, which was not easy because it's state-run, so it's not easy to skip grades. They would have every time to apply to the Ministry of Culture for an exception.
For you to skip a year?
Yeah, every time I was skipping something. And of course, I would have to prepare their 3 major exams throughout. It's a 10-year course, so I did it in 5.
Okay, that's pretty good.
Well, I skipped some repertoire, I suppose, but still you have to cover 24 Prelude and Fugues and Beethoven's. It's a program that was it's very, very updated. It was made in 1913, and it still says modern concerto for Brahms on. But anyway, so they thought this is great, as good as it is. We want you to expose you to something better earlier. So that was the reason. Yeah. So I left. I was studying in Europe, but went to Paris and different places, just master classes and private lessons. And then when I was 16, I moved to the States.
And by 19, you'd won a major piano competition.
In Hamamatsu, yeah.
Yes, the Hamamatsu. Yes. And by 23, was it? You had won the Leeds piano competition.
Yeah, 22.
22. Okay. Yeah. Those were the breakthroughs that really set you.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I was very lucky. I was young enough not to feel the pressure of having this is my last chance to start a career. And actually, Leeds was 2000. I think the musical world has changed a bit. Competitions, although they're coming back in fashion, I think. But between then and now, they were perceived as something negative. And I always thought it was something positive. I go out there, this was Hamamatsu in Japan. It was my first trip to Japan. I was so excited just to go. And my dream was to play Brahms' first concerto with a good orchestra for the first time. And I didn't care about anything else. So there was not Leeds. There was a little more pressure because I had already won another big competition before. So I didn't want that competition to look bad. But other than that, and I was lucky to retire from that scene. Now I've been a little bit on the other side of it. I was on the jury of the Van Cliburn competition and Busoni, and see how different it is actually.
Yes, and you still believe in competitions?
I think so. Yes. I think they can really give. First of all, as a student, it's fantastic to focus on, and they require now so much repertoire, to focus on a large amount of repertoire very intensively for a period of time, and then have most of the time a great conditions, great platform to be heard.
Thank you very much for sharing that. Talking about repertoire, we should really talk about the concert today and the pieces. I mean, it's a very interesting program. It's quite a substantial one. How did you sort of arrive at this thing? Because you have the Mozart, the Brahms, and the Prokofiev, 3 different centuries. But I guess it's not a thematic concept. How did you sort of choose these pieces?
We always start with one piece, more or less, and then you try to balance out, And we had already done the first and the second Brahms sonatas on separate tours of Taiwan. And so we thought, okay, let's do the third, which we had played once at my festival before. And then we've done a few Mozart sonatas, and we always liked them. And he asked me, he was gracious enough to say, which one do you want to play? And there was, the one we're going to play is one of my favorites. It's really like it's a big sonata on a large scale, and there's so much, the world in it. It's really incredible. And then we wanted a meaty thing, for a big piece, and we suggested a few. And narrow it down to Prokofiev 1, which is something that I love, a piece that we both love so much. Daishins played it a lot, I think. And I played it a little bit, and I really wanted to play with them because I thought it would be amazing.
Right. So the Mozart is new for you?
Mozart, yes, actually, I learned it for this tour, yes. Of course, I know, you know the piece, you've heard of it and everything. Mozart is, it doesn't matter if it's new or not, because it's always going to stay difficult. So
it's challenging, but in a different way from the Brahms and the Prokofiev.
No, of course, it's completely different from all 3 of them. Yes. But, to have this purity, to have this, the sound, the phrasing, to make it simple but beautiful, pure but deep, this balance is just very demanding.
Yes, it's extremely difficult to do. Mozart always sounds effortless.
It has to be light, exactly. It has to be effortless. Yes. It has to sound easy. And I think that's the trick of trying to make it sound easy.
Yes, isn't it? It's super difficult, yes.
And to look as if it's easy.
And to smile, keep smiling. Yeah. Whereas the Brahms, it can be, much more
Brahms, you can really go into it, of course.
It's a beautiful piece, that one.
Yes. Yeah, it's a huge piece also. It's, the first 2 sonatas have a more kind of light, just kind of pure beauty sense to it. The third has more emotions, more passion, more gut.
Yeah, it's a very complex piece too. Yeah.
But then also incredibly beautiful. The slow movement is, for me, to die for.
Yeah, it's a beautiful slow movement. So you get to hear that later. Do you any comments on the Brahms from your side?
It's amazing. I mean, again, as you said, the first sonata is actually the longest, but it's very serene throughout, and it's very, very difficult because of that, how to sustain such a large structure. This one is more symphonic. The movements are much more contrasting with one another, and there are 4 of them, by the way, which makes it closer to a symphony format. But yes, there's so much more power and excitement and virtuosity too, and depth. So, it's got everything, really.
Yeah, so the Mozart and the Brahms make a fantastic contrast, I think, for the first half. And then I think probably the most difficult piece, probably to play and also to, to grasp would be the Prokofiev. And I guess it may be new for some of you here too. I think we should spend a little bit of time on the Prokofiev. Talk a little bit about it because, it's a piece that people need to get into. But once they get into it, it's quite a, substantial, meaty, deep piece.
It's a monumental piece of music. It has, also four very different movements, very heavy, dark music. It's something you don't kind of just listen to lightly while cooking a meal or something. It's something you really have to concentrate, I think, even just to listen to. And so it's also challenging for the audience, but if it clicks between the audience and the players and the atmospheres as it's supposed to be, and it can be a very great experience. And you have this, it starts with these octaves in the piano. It's the most soul-chilling thing for me when I hear that, when he does that. Incredible how it starts already, and then goes through so much tragedy, so much aggressiveness, also brutality.
It's quite a violent piece.
Yes.
I would think that your violin might break.
Well, some it might today. And then there's this beauty of the slow movement also, and then it ends. It ends again in this cold, in this chill. I mean, it feels like in Siberia or something.
He described it as a wind over the graveyard.
Exactly, yes.
There's two passages, the end of the first movement and the end of the piece.
So yeah, it's a whole journey, and you end up like in the beginning again. So it's like going up once around.
You end up back in that sort of cold, chilly, eerie, ghostly kind of atmosphere. And of course, in a way, it reflects very much Prokofiev's own situation in Russia at the time.
Oh, yes.
He just returned, well, not just, but he returned to Russia. But I think that it was dawning on him what it was like under Stalin's regime.
Yeah.
This sonata, although I think it's number one, really was the last. I mean, he took a long time to complete it. So that cycle also is a cycle that expresses that kind of life. It's the sort of piece we're talking about this that you may not want to clap at the end. It's not like yay, let's clap at the end of this. Right? It is one of those profound moments if you go through the entire piece. Yeah.
It's a piece that actually happens. It becomes real in performance.
Yes.
And then we feel it as players, and hopefully you will feel it as audience. We can rehearse it, but we never know how it's going to feel. And then something happens, performance. A journey. Actually feels today like a journey within the human existence.
Yes. I'm sure it's been an experience for all of us. Now, we have to end, I'm afraid, because we've run out of time, and I have a concert to go to at 3:00, and I hope you turn up as well. But before...
I don't have tickets.
You don't have tickets? I'll get you some free ones. That's quite... Yeah. But before we let them go, we should really thank them for very enlightening time. So thank you very much, Daishin and Alessio.